social media sites out there. But also, in addition to that, they are, well, nothing has been confirmed, but as far as I know, that there is this particular um, new implementation of uh, tracking people down is through watching you on your webcam.
Yeah.
All public webcams will be recorded or tracked. I mean,
Yeah.
how creepy is that?
Yeah. Well,
That is rather scary, isn't it?
yeah. Sure, it's creepy, and it's not just public webcams,
It's
leaking
like,
cams.
I mean,
It's
imagine that. It's like they can record it, put it in the computer database, and then they can scan your photo, scan your image, the facial features, whatever, put it in the database, so they can tag you whatever, because it's all based on the tags, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
On Facebook, so they can track that, and then they say, oh, your name is Sean, so we know who you are. So you come out of the tube, maybe even if you're in the tube or in the bus, because as you know, everywhere in London these days there are CCTVs everywhere. So it all gets tracked by a main database, main system. So you could literally see me um, everywhere, and it can track me down everywhere. It's like having a GPS.
oh yeah. I mean,
You
most
don't really need a GPS because
yeah,
it's all based on CCTV cameras and your mobile phone as well. Because your mobile
yeah,
phone itself has been tagged somewhat, so you move around with it, and you don't realise that every movement from point A to point B is being tracked.
hmm
And your calls and everything else are all tracked anyway.
hmm
But that's rather scary though to talk about. Sorry, when you realise that webcam is going to be be watched by certain parties.
yeah. At any point that, like for instance, they want to check some activity, perhaps there's some keywords that went on. Um, like say you were searching Google or something, then they can easily just like, oh, let's have a look at the you know, let's have a look at the webcam. Who is it? What's going on? It's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's just quite. I mean, it doesn't surprise me in any way, but I just find that slightly disturbing. Why are they doing this? Why is this so stupid? For me, if you were to compare with myself and the government, I'm just totally insignificant. Who am I? I'm just like one in a billion. Why do you want to care about
Uh-huh.
me? Why are you even bothered to even do that? I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't do nothing, so I find that slightly weird. Why are you investing all that money to really spy on people? Why? It's just not making sense. But anyway, I think we talked about that many numerous times. But I just had this. I was listening to this conversation just a couple of days ago as well, which I find very interesting. As you know, America is literally bankrupt. They've got no money basically.
That's right.
And the UK is also bankrupt, but they're not saying it because naturally, if they do say it, then they can't win the next election. We've got the hung party anyway, so I think it will go back to Labour, whatever. I don't really care because I don't think none of them are very competent. Um, but sorry, and then also at the same time, that the unemployment rate in this country have increased significantly, and
hmm
apparently there are about 2.5 million UK people who is unemployed. And I think the data is quite similar over in America as well, particularly the younger generation within sort of like within the age range of 18 to 24, 25, who
hmm
is who are very badly affected, because I personally feel because of the experience and everything else, because you have to you have to think about that,
hmm
and so and also at the same time, there was this person who was telling, why are we spending money at wars when we're literally bankrupt? So he concluded that we are not bankrupt. We've got the money. And if we didn't have the money, we wouldn't be, bombing other countries like Libya and Iraq and Afghanistan and places like that. But this other chappie said that no, we are bankrupt. The reason why we go to these countries and bomb them is because
Yeah,
they've got resources. And
yeah,
we just
that's
want
right.
to smuggle the resources so that we can get all the money back and not be bankrupt in the future. That's how we get our money back, by bombing other people,
Yeah.
and get their resources and be rich.
Well,
It's like colonization, but in a modern way, somewhat.
um, yeah. I mean, remembering that it's nothing to do with actual money. It is only resources, because for instance, you see the dollar is crashing, the euro is going the same way, and it's like you say, a land grab, it's resources grab, because the dollar will be history, and these are the only things that have any tangible.
Why do you say the dollar will be history? The dollar will not be history. It's an international currency.
Yeah, at the moment, it's the world's reserve. Um,
The Illuminati people will not let it happen.
yeah. Well, unless they have the plan that it should happen.
Oh, unless, but they are very much in favor of a dollar to really rule the world.
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. It's like how can I say, they have they have um, they have basically full control over populations, because they've had hundreds of years practicing this. They're able to infiltrate countries. I mean, nowadays they call it nation building, but infiltrate countries. And in the case of Libya, which was a real problem, because Libya had its own system of finance. There was interest-free loans. Everybody was able to get a loan to buy houses. So economically, everyone was doing great. But what they didn't have was a um, central bank. And now, immediately, I think within 2 weeks of the invasion, they've already set up a central bank. So basically, now the central bank will dictate. Will basically turn it into like in Iraq or Afghanistan. That's what's going to happen. They're going to be using the financial regulations or non-regulations, because it's seemingly here in the West there is no regulations, and they're going to rape the country, rape the resources, rape the population, and all in the name of democracy. But yeah, it's it's basically, it is basically, from the Obligats standpoint, it's a joke, because the only power they have over the world populations is the world population's ignorance, mankind's ignorance. We don't know anything, and because we don't know anything, they're able to educate us, train us to believe things which are really not true. And then in that way, they're able to move populations, to destroy populations, to completely blind people as to the reality of what life is. So we believe that the reality that we have, and it's surprising to see that people saying how happy they are that they went into Libya and liberated Libya, and they don't know anything. All they know is that they sit down at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, they watch the TV, and they say, "This is what's happened today," and the rebels this and the rebels that, and they say, "This is the truth," and then they go on ranting and raving about it, like you see it on Facebook, and say, "That's all you know. Is what you've seen on TV," but the actual truth of the matter, they don't know. So, but the fact of the matter is, it's all about, like you say, it's a power grab, land grab, because Libya has had, as there's a few countries that have been invaded, resources, yes. They also had the ability under their leader to really make a complete change in the world. and to establish like an African Union with its own currency, which was going to be the gold dinar, and it would have been um, it really would have been detrimental to the New World Order.
Right. Okay. Well, just my point. I've got just only I only have just like one point, which is even if the war in Afghanistan or Libya concludes, there will be war. There will be new wars in different countries because the reason why I say that is because war is business. It's billion-dollar business. There are loads of other related companies that that depends on having war. Like for example, Halliburton, companies, bombing companies, torpedo companies, submarines and tanks and whatnot. They depend on war to survive. So because think about it, it's like in every election, all these war companies, all these armament companies pay, companies so pay this potential ministers or potential president, so that if they win, they've got no choice but to support another war. So it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle, and it's a business, and this war will continue. Will continue definitely, without a doubt. They will continue because if you have no war, a lot of big organizations in the world will go bust. They will go bust
Yeah.
because if there's no war, there's no money. So that's that's my theory. In fact, that's not a theory. That's the truth. So secondly, talking about Libya, which I find rather interesting, is that Gaddafi is now wanted by the the international crime thing,
Yeah.
for international breaking international law or something.
Yeah.
But hold on a minute. There are loads of other presidents and prime ministers and leaders of countries that have breached the international justice. But why has it got to be Gaddafi? Because Gaddafi is responsible for his own country, and if you look at other African countries, I'm not going to mention names. They've done a lot of things that are worse off than what Gaddafi has done, if that makes any sense. And I find that very it isn't just fair. I mean, look at Syria. Nothing's been done to Syria. The guy's been killing people left and right, but he's not even wanted, is he?
Well,
I mean, why Gaddafi?
I tell you something. Well, Gaddafi, you find the videos on YouTube. Gaddafi predicted this, a couple of years ago. That this will happen because he'd seen it happen in Iraq, and he knew that there was a good chance.
Do you know why? Because he's a threat to the world. Because he is the most powerful person in African continent. And in fact, they've got this African Union or something that goes on, and he is the leader. He's been funding a lot of a lot of countries within the African Union, and he got the support. And when the NTC wanted the African Union to acknowledge that the NTC is the official government now, they refused to say yes to that. Reason being is because they still have intense support towards Gaddafi. And because Gaddafi has supported them throughout the years. And that's the reason why, he hasn't lost in this war yet, despite the NTC is now governing the country.
Well, you see, no one's seen any evidence to say Gaddafi this or Gaddafi that, Gaddafi whatever. No, there's no evidence. It's simply a matter of this was in the news, on the Western news, and that's it. And that it's concluded like that. It's just a case, he's this, and now he's wanted by the international. Do you know one of the biggest jokes? It's an embarrassment. It's so bad. It's embarrassing. at some point it was reported, they put it on the news that